Rebecca Mitchell, 38, became suspicious when she saw the building manager take her daughter Emily, 9, to the building's engine room every Wednesday at 4 p.m. for 3 months. The girl always came back nervous, with red eyes, but refused to speak. "Mum, it's just a special secret," Emily said, trembling. When Rebecca finally managed to catch what was happening in that locked basement room, what she found destroyed all the certainties she had about safety and confidence. But to understand how we got here, we need to go back a few weeks and get to know the full story of Rebecca and Emily Mitchell. Rebecca has always been a dutiful and devoted mother. At the age of 38, she worked as a nurse at Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago, doing shifts that sometimes extended into the night. After their divorce 4 years ago, she and Emily moved into the Lakeside Towers building, a middle-class building in the Lincoln Park neighborhood. It was a quiet place, with settled families, children playing in the fenced-in playground, residents who knew each other by name. Rebecca chose that building for exactly that. "I wanted Emily to grow up in a safe environment, with trustworthy people around." Emily Mitchell was 9 years old and was the ray of sunshine in her mother's life. She was a cheerful, talkative, energetic girl. He loved to draw. He spent hours creating colorful characters in his sketchbook. She had long brown hair that Rebecca tied in braids every morning before school. Emily was confident, not afraid to ask questions, to meet new people. Rebecca has always been proud of it. She raised her daughter to be brave, to trust good people. The Lakeside Towers building had been managed by Mr. Thompson for 15 years. He was a man with a reliable appearance, always in an impeccable uniform, well-combed grey hair, a friendly smile. All the residents respected him. He repaired dripping faucets, organized parties in the event hall, took care of the garden in front of the building. He was helpful, always willing to help. The children liked him. He carried lollipops in his pocket and distributed them to the little ones he met in the elevator. In this video, you'll discover how one mother trusted her maternal instinct even when everyone said she was overreacting. You'll see how small signs, which most would ignore, became the key to saving your daughter. Courage and determination can change everything in a matter of hours. Every detail here is based on true events. This is the story of how Rebecca noticed signs that everyone ignored and how her attention saved not only Emily, but other children in the building. The manager hid something disturbing behind his impeccable reputation, something no one could have imagined. If you've made it this far, it's because real history interests you. Help this content reach more people by leaving the like, subscribing to the channel, and activating the bell. Mornings at Rebecca and Emily's apartment followed a comforting routine. The alarm clock rang at 6:30. Rebecca would get up first, prepare her coffee, as the sun began to pour in through the kitchen window. The smell of fresh coffee filled the small but cozy apartment. Emily would wake up soon after, still sleepy, and come to the table, shuffling her feet in her pajamas. They had breakfast together every morning without fail. It was their sacred moment. "Mum, today she has art classes," Emily said excitedly, stirring the cereal in the milk. "I'm going to draw a castle." "How beautiful, dear. I can't wait to see it," Rebecca replied, smiling as she ran her hand through her daughter's hair. After breakfast, Rebecca combed Emily's hair, made the braids that the girl liked so much. I prepared the lunchbox with sandwich, fruit, juice. Emily would take the pink backpack full of colorful stickers and get off to catch the school bus that stopped in front of the building at 7:40. Rebecca waved from the fourth-floor window until the bus disappeared around the corner. Then he started his own day. I took a shower, put on a nurse's uniform, checked my bag, went down to catch the subway. She worked in the hospital, taking care of patients, running between shifts, always attentive, always dedicated. When I had an afternoon shift, I returned home around 7 at night. Emily was already there, doing homework at the living room table, or drawing, or watching drawings on television. "How was school today, my love?" Rebecca always asked, dropping her bag on the couch. "It was cool." "We learned about dinosaurs in science class," Emily answered excitedly, telling every detail of the day. They had dinner together, talked, laughed. Rebecca asked about her friends, about her teachers, about what Emily was learning. The girl was talkative. She shared everything. Rebecca has always known everything about her daughter's life. There were no secrets between them. That's how Rebecca wanted it. Open communication, total trust. The Lakeside Towers building was a busy but organized place. On the ground floor was the lobby with marble floors, mailboxes aligned on the wall, 2 elevators on the left side, service stairs on the right side. Mr. Thompson was almost always in the small office next to the lobby, the door always open, available to any resident who needed it. He greeted everyone by name. "Good morning, Mrs. Mitchell." "Good morning, Emily," he said whenever he saw them. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson," Rebecca replied politely. Emily smiled at him, sometimes stopped to talk. Mr. Thompson asked about the school, about the drawings. He seemed genuinely interested in the children. Rebecca found this comforting. In a world where everyone was busy, it was nice to have someone who cared. Mr. Thompson organized events in the building, Christmas parties in the hall, Easter egg hunts in the garden, summer picnics. Families participated, children played together. There was a sense of community. Rebecca knew most of the neighbors, Mrs. Anderson of the 3rd floor, who had a son of Emily's age, Mr. and Mrs. Patel from the 5th floor, with 7-year-old twins, Mrs. Wilson from the 2nd floor, a widow who always had homemade cookies to offer. It was a safe environment. Rebecca felt that she had made the right choice by moving there. But 3 months ago, something began to change. On a Wednesday in October, Rebecca came home from work at 7 in the evening as usual. He entered the apartment expecting to find Emily on the couch, but the girl was not there. Rebecca felt a slight discomfort, looked in the bedroom, in the bathroom. "Emily, where are you?" called, trying to keep her voice calm. He heard the front door open. Emily rushed in, backpack on her back, cheeks flushed. "Hi, Mum, sorry, I was playing downstairs," the girl said quickly, taking off her shoes. Rebecca looked at her watch. 7 and 10. Emily was usually home at 6:30 when the babysitter of the neighbor who took care of her for a few hours dropped the girl off at the apartment before Rebecca arrived. "Where were you joking?" Rebecca asked, trying not to sound too worried. "On the playground with Sarah," Emily responded, dropping her backpack on the floor. Rebecca took a deep breath. "All right, but let me know next time, okay? I was worried." "Okay, Mom," Emily said, running to her room. Rebecca let it go. Children play, they lose track of time. It was no big deal. But the following Wednesday, it happened again. Rebecca came home at 7. Emily wasn't. He arrived 15 minutes later with the same excuse. "I was playing downstairs, Mom." Rebecca frowned. "Emily, you need to get home on time. We agreed 6:30. Why are you late again?" Emily looked away. "I missed the time, Mum. I am sorry." There was something different about her tone. Less spontaneous, more rehearsed. Rebecca felt a slight tightness in her chest, but ignored it. I was tired of the long shift. Maybe he was imagining things. On the 3rd Wednesday, Rebecca decided to get home early. At 6:30 sharp, he wanted to see where Emily was, who he was playing with. He entered the apartment, empty. He went down to the playground, empty too. He returned to the lobby. Mr. Thompson was arranging correspondence. "Mr. Thompson, did you see Emily?" Rebecca asked. "Oh yes, Mrs. Mitchell. I saw her go up about 20 minutes ago," he replied, smiling. Rebecca went upstairs confused. Emily wasn't in the apartment 20 minutes ago. She'd just checked in. But he said nothing. He climbed up again, waited. 15 minutes later, Emily walked through the door, panting. "Emily, where were you?" Rebecca asked, firmer this time. I was in Sarah's apartment, Mom," Emily said, avoiding looking into Mom's eyes. Rebecca knew that Sarah lived on the 6th floor. "You were there all this time?" he asked. Emily nodded too quickly. It was. Rebecca didn't completely believe it, but she had no concrete reason to doubt it. "That's okay, but let me know before going to friends' houses, okay?" "Okay," Emily muttered, hurrying to her room. Rebecca stood in the room, her heart beating faster than it should. Something was different. Emily had never lied to her before. Or had it? The following week, Rebecca watched more closely. Emily looked different on Wednesdays, quieter at breakfast, less talkative at dinner. Rebecca would ask how the day had been. Emily would answer with monosyllables. It was good, normal, cool. Rebecca began to notice her daughter's eyes. Every Wednesday when Emily came home, her eyes were slightly red, as if he had cried, or rubbed too much. "Emily, your eyes are red. Are you okay?" Rebecca asked one of those nights. "I am, Mum. It's just an allergy," Emily replied quickly, looking away. "Allergy? You've never had allergies before," Rebecca said, moving closer to get a better look. Emily backed off. "It's just the dust from school, Mom. It's nothing." Rebecca felt a knot form in her stomach. Allergy that appeared only on Wednesdays? That didn't make sense. But Emily looked fine, taking her red eyes off. "I ate normally, played, drew." Rebecca tried to convince herself that she was exaggerating. Maybe it was really an allergy. Maybe the classroom had something that irritated the girl's eyes once a week. But then Emily started mentioning secrets. It was on a Tuesday night. They were eating pasta, Emily's favorite food. The girl was stirring the food on her plate, thoughtful. "Mom, if someone asks you to keep a secret, you do," Emily asked suddenly. Rebecca stopped eating, looked at her daughter. "It depends on the secret, dear. Why are you asking?" Emily shrugged. "Just curiosity." Rebecca put down her fork. "Emily, has someone asked you to keep a secret?" Emily tensed. "It's just a question, Mom." Rebecca felt her heart race. "Baby, you know you can tell me anything, don't you? There is no secret between us that is more important than you being well." "I know, Mom," Emily muttered. "But what if it's a good secret? A special secret?" "What kind of special secret?" Rebecca insisted, trying to keep her voice calm. "Nothing, Mom. Forget it," Emily said, getting up from the table. "I'm done. Can I go and draw?" Rebecca left, but she couldn't eat anything else. Special secret? What did that mean? Who had asked Emily to keep it a secret? And why was the girl so evasive? That night, Rebecca could barely sleep. She kept tossing and turning in bed, thinking. Maybe it was a surprise gift that Emily was preparing. Children do this. They keep secrets about gifts. But why would Emily be so nervous? Why do red eyes only on Wednesdays? The next morning, Rebecca tried to talk again. "Emily, about that secret you mentioned yesterday." Emily interrupted. "Mom, I don't want to talk about it, okay? It's just a special thing. You will know at the right time." Rebecca took a deep breath. "All right, dear. But if you need to talk about anything, I'm here, okay?" "I know, Mom," Emily said, but there was distance in her voice. Rebecca began to observe more. He noticed that every Wednesday when he got home, Emily looked tired. Not the normal tiredness of a child who has played all day. It was emotional fatigue. The girl stayed on the couch, hugging a cushion, staring into space. Rebecca tried to talk to other mothers in the building. He met Mrs. Anderson in the elevator on a Thursday. "Hi, Jennifer. How are you?" "How's Michael?" Rebecca asked casually. "Ooh, that's great." "Full of energy as always," Mrs. Anderson replied, smiling. "He plays with Emily on Wednesdays downstairs, doesn't he?" Rebecca probed. Mrs. Anderson looked confused. "On Wednesdays? No. He has football on Wednesdays. He comes home only at night." Rebecca felt her stomach turn. Then who was Emily kidding with? He tried to keep his expression neutral. "Ah, yes, true. I confused the days. On Saturday, Rebecca was in the building's garden when she saw Mr. Thompson talking to Emily near the playground. She watched from afar. Mr. Thompson was crouching at the girl's height, hand on her shoulder, speaking softly. Emily listened, nodded. He smiled, gave her a lollipop. Emily took it but didn't smile back. It seemed tense. Rebecca approached. "Hi, Emily. Hi, Mr. Thompson." Mr. Thompson stood up quickly, smiling widely. "Hi, Mrs. Mitchell. I was here talking to Emily about the beautiful drawings she makes. She is very talented." "Thank you," Rebecca said, taking Emily's hand. "Come, dear, let's go upstairs for lunch." Emily followed her mother silently. In the elevator, Rebecca asked, "What was Mr. Thompson talking to you?" "No big deal, Mum. Just about drawings," Emily replied, looking at the floor. Rebecca felt a tightness in her chest. There was something wrong. She didn't know how to explain it, but she felt it. A mother knows when something is not right with her daughter. It is an instinct that does not need proof, only attention. If this revelation is arousing in you a deep curiosity about what really happened, comment right now, "I want more stories," and please leave your like on this video. The following Wednesday, Rebecca made a decision. I was going to find out what was happening. He told Emily that he was on duty and would leave early, but in fact he stayed. He waited in the car in the parking lot of the building with a view of the entrance. It was 3:30 in the afternoon. Emily would come home from school at 4. At 4:05, the school bus stopped in front of the building. Rebecca saw Emily come down, backpack on her back. The girl entered the building. Rebecca waited. 10 minutes passed. 15. Rebecca was about to give up when she saw something that made her blood run cold. Emily left the building again, alone. He looked to the sides, as if to check if anyone was watching, and went back in. Rebecca frowned. What was the girl doing? He waited another 15 minutes. Emily didn't leave again. Rebecca checked her watch. 4:30. He decided to join. He went upstairs to the apartment. Empty. Emily wasn't there. Rebecca felt her heart race. He went down again, checked the playground. Empty. He checked the event hall. Empty. He returned to the lobby. Mr. Thompson was in the office. "Mr. Thompson, did you see Emily?" Rebecca asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Yes, I did, Mrs. Mitchell." "She passed by about 20 minutes ago," he said, without looking up from the papers on the table. "You know where she's gone?" Rebecca insisted. "I didn't notice, sorry," he replied, smiling politely. Rebecca walked around the building. He checked the laundry room in the basement, empty. He was about to go up again when he heard the elevator coming. The doors opened. Emily came out, pale, eyes red again. "Emily!" Rebecca called, running to her daughter. "Where were you?" Emily froze. I was kidding, Mom. Playing where?" "I looked for you everywhere," Rebecca said, crouching in front of the girl, holding her shoulders. "I was in Sarah's apartment," Emily lied, but her voice trembled. Rebecca knew it was a lie. "Sarah lived on the 6th floor, and the elevator had come from the basement. Emily, tell me the truth. Where were you?" Emily's eyes filled with tears. "I can't tell you, Mom." Rebecca felt panic rise up her throat. "What do you mean you can't tell?" "Who says you can't tell me?" Emily began to cry. "I promised, Mom. I promised not to tell." Rebecca hugged her daughter, feeling her hands tremble. "Promise to whom, dear? Who made you promise that?" Emily sobbed on her mother's shoulder but did not answer. Rebecca held her daughter's face with both hands, looked into her eyes. "Emily, listen to me. There is no secret that is more important than you being well. You're not in danger, are you? Is no one hurting you?" "No, Mum, no one is hurting me," Emily said between sobs. It's just something special. Please don't make me count." Rebecca wanted to insist. She wanted to demand answers, but she saw the despair on her daughter's face and backed off. "All right, dear, that's okay. Let's go home." They climbed in silence. Rebecca prepared hot chocolate. Emily drank it quietly. Rebecca tried to talk about other things, but the girl was distant. She went to her room early, saying she was tired. Rebecca stood alone in the living room, heart racing, hands cold. Something was very wrong. Emily was keeping a secret that made her nervous to the point of tears, a secret that someone had asked her not to tell, a secret linked to Wednesdays, a secret linked to the basement of the building. Rebecca took out her cell phone, thought about calling the police, but say what? That her daughter was keeping a secret. Who came home with red eyes? There was nothing concrete, nothing that justified calling the authorities. Everyone would say she was exaggerating, that I was being paranoid. But what happened in the next few hours would destroy all the certainties she had. On Thursday morning, Rebecca woke up determined. I wasn't going to let it go. She was going to find out what was happening, even if she had to investigate it herself. During breakfast, Emily observed. The girl was quiet, pushing the cereal on the plate without eating properly. "Emily, are you okay?" Rebecca asked softly. "I am, Mom," Emily muttered without looking up. After Emily left for school, Rebecca wondered. He needed a plan. I needed to find out what happened on Wednesdays in the basement. I needed to know who was involved, and he needed proof. He decided to begin by investigating Mr. Thompson. He went to the computer, looked up his name online. Richard Thompson, manager of Lakeside Towers. There wasn't much. A LinkedIn account showing that he had worked in the building for 15 years. Nothing suspicious. No public criminal record. Nothing. Rebecca tried to remember if any householder had ever mentioned anything strange about Mr. Thompson. He couldn't think of anything. He was respected, loved by all, always helpful, always friendly. But there was something about him that bothered Rebecca now. The way he had put his hand on Emily's shoulder on Saturday. The way he had moved away quickly when Rebecca approached. The way Emily was tense around him. On Friday, Rebecca met Mrs. Patel in the hallway. He tried to probe casually. "Hi, Priya. How are the twins?" "Oh, they're great," Mrs. Patel replied, smiling, full of energy. "Do they participate in any activity here in the building?" Rebecca asked. Mrs. Patel thought. "No, not that I know of." "Why?" "Ah, just curiosity. Emily mentioned that some kids do activities with Mr. Thompson," Rebecca said, noting the reaction. Mrs. Patel looked surprised. "Activities? I didn't know that. What kind of activities?" "I don't know for sure. She didn't want to tell me," Rebecca admitted. How strange," Mrs. Patel said. "I'm going to ask the boys if they know anything." Rebecca thanked her and followed. At least now another mother was aware. Perhaps other children were involved. Perhaps other mothers would notice signs as well. On Saturday, Rebecca was in the elevator when she met Mrs. Anderson again. "Jennifer, can I ask you something? Has Michael mentioned any special activities here in the building? Anything that Mr. Thompson organizes?" Mrs. Anderson looked confused. "Special activity? No, he never mentioned it. Why? Did something happen?" Rebecca hesitated. "I don't know for sure. Emily has been acting weird for the past few weeks. He comes home with red eyes every Wednesday, talks about special secrets, but doesn't want to tell me what it is." Mrs. Anderson frowned. "How strange indeed. Did you ask Mr. Thompson?" I asked. "He said he didn't know anything." Rebecca lied a little. "Well, and kids have secrets sometimes," Mrs. Anderson said, trying to be comforting. "I'm sure it's nothing serious." Rebecca forced a smile. "I hope not." But inside, Rebecca was increasingly certain that it was serious. Very serious. If you're here so far, it's because this story is stirring you. What follows will show the exact moment when everything changed. Therefore, at the end of this video, we will reveal the complete outcome with details that few know. Stay with me until the end. The following Wednesday, Rebecca put her plan into action. He told Emily that he had a double shift and would not return until 10 at night. Emily seemed relieved, which only increased Rebecca's suspicion. The girl wanted her mother not to be at home. Why? Rebecca left the apartment at 2 in the afternoon, as if she were going to work, but instead of going to the hospital, he stayed in the car in the parking lot. He waited. At 4 in the afternoon, he saw Emily get off the school bus and enter the building. Rebecca waited 10 minutes. Then he got out of the car, and entered through the back door of the building which led straight to the service stairs. He climbed in silence to the 4th floor, opened the door of the apartment slowly. Empty as he expected, Emily hadn't gone upstairs. Rebecca went down the service stairs, stopping on each floor to look through the glass of the door. 2nd floor, nothing. 1st floor, nothing. On the ground floor, he saw Mr. Thompson in the office, working on the computer. It continued down, underground. He opened the service door very slowly, just a crack. From there I could see the corridor from the basement. There was the laundry room on the right, the cleaning material warehouse on the left, and at the back, the engine room. The door was closed. Rebecca stepped down the stairs, walked silently down the hallway. Her heart was beating so hard that she was sure someone could hear it. He approached the door of the engine room. It was locked. He put his ear to the door, muffled voices. He couldn't make out words, but there were people inside, more than one person. Children. Rebecca recognized Emily's voice, and the voice of Mr. Thompson. Rebecca knocked on the door. The voices stopped immediately. Total silence. Rebecca hit again, harder. "Hi, is there anyone there?" Nothing. Absolute silence. Rebecca felt a chill run down her spine. Why didn't anyone answer? Why did they remain silent? After what seemed like minutes, but were probably only 30 seconds, he heard footsteps. The door opened. Mr. Thompson appeared, smiling as usual. "Ah, Mrs. Mitchell, can I help with something?" Rebecca tried to look into the room over his shoulder, but he blocked the view. "What are you doing here with the kids?" Mr. Thompson continued smiling. "Oh, it's a volunteer project that I'm doing with some children in the building, teaching about maintenance, responsibility, teamwork, useful stuff." "My daughter is in there," Rebecca said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Yes, it is. And 3 more children. It's all very educational, Mrs. Mitchell. No need to worry," he said. But he didn't move from the door. "I want to see my daughter," Rebecca insisted. Mr. Thompson hesitated only a second, then walked away. "Of course, come in." Rebecca entered. The room was large, with boilers, pipes, maintenance equipment. There were 4 children sitting in folding chairs, Emily, a boy of about 10, and 2 girls of 8 or 9. Everyone looked at Rebecca with wide, startled eyes. Emily was pale. "Emily, what are you doing here?" Rebecca asked. Mr. Thompson answered before Emily could speak. "As I said, educational project. Children are learning about how the building works. It's all very safe and appropriate." Rebecca looked at the other children. "Are you okay? Do you want to be here?" The children nodded, but they didn't seem convinced. They looked more scared. "Why was the door locked?" Rebecca asked, staring at Mr. Thompson. "Security, Mrs. Mitchell. There is dangerous equipment here." "We don't want young children to come in unsupervised," he replied calmly. It made sense, but Rebecca didn't believe it. "Why can't Emily tell me about this project?" "It's a surprise that we're preparing for Mother's Day," Mr. Thompson said, smiling. "Children want it to be special, hence the secret." Rebecca looked at Emily. "Is it true, honey?" Emily looked at Mr. Thompson, then at her mother. He nodded slowly. "Yes, Mom. It's a surprise." Rebecca didn't believe it for a second, but she couldn't do anything there. I had no proof. He had no concrete reason to accuse Mr. Thompson of anything. "It's okay," Rebecca said slowly. "Emily, come. Let's go home." "But Mrs. Mitchell, there are still 15 minutes left of our time," Mr. Thompson protested politely. "It doesn't matter. She's coming with me now," Rebecca said firmly, reaching out to Emily. Emily got up, picked up her backpack, followed her mother. Rebecca cast one last glance at Mr. Thompson. He kept smiling, but there was something in his eyes, something cold. They went up to the apartment in silence. Rebecca locked the door, pulled Emily onto the couch. "Emily, tell me the truth. What really happens in that room?" "I already told you, Mom." "It's a project," Emily muttered. "Why were you afraid?" Rebecca insisted. I wasn't afraid, Emily lied, but her hands trembled. Emily, look at me. Rebecca held her daughter's face. You can tell me anything. If someone is hurting you, if someone is making you do something you don't want to do, I need to know. No one's hurting me, Mom, Emily said, tears flowing. It's just that Mr. Thompson said that if we told the parents, we couldn't participate anymore, and I didn't want to spoil the surprise. Rebecca hugged her daughter, but her heart was racing. Something was very, very wrong. Children do not get red eyes after educational projects. Children do not tremble in fear when they are caught in a locked room. And adults who work with children do not ask their parents to keep secret. Rebecca spent the rest of the night awake, thinking. I needed concrete evidence. I needed to know what was really going on in that room, but how to achieve this. The next morning, Rebecca had an idea. He went to an electronics store and bought a small GPS tracker, the kind that fits in a backpack used to track lost luggage. He discreetly placed it inside Emily's backpack, hidden in an internal pocket. The following Wednesday, Rebecca monitored the tracker through the app on her cell phone. At 4:10 in the afternoon, Emily was in the apartment. At 4:15, he began to move. It came down. Underground. She stood there. At 5 in the afternoon, I was still underground, exactly 45 minutes. At 5:05, Emily began to climb. At 5:10, I was back in the apartment. Rebecca checked the building's security cameras on the app that all residents had access to. He saw Emily entering the elevator at 4:15, alone. The elevator went down. 5 minutes later, Mr. Thompson entered the same elevator. It also went down. Rebecca felt nauseous. He needed more proof. I needed to see, hear, record what was happening. Over the weekend, Rebecca bought a micro camera, one of those tiny ones that stick anywhere. On Tuesday night, while Emily slept, Rebecca placed the camera inside her daughter's backpack, positioned so that it would film outwards when the backpack was on the floor. On Wednesday, at 4 in the afternoon, Rebecca opened the camera app on her cell phone. The image was shaky, but you could see it. Emily went downstairs. He put his backpack on the floor. The camera was filming the engine room. There were 4 children in addition to Emily. Mr. Thompson was in the front. With his back to the camera, Rebecca couldn't see his face, but she could hear his voice perfectly. Remember, children, this is our special secret, Mr. Thompson said. If they tell their parents, they will no longer be able to participate. You are special. You understand things that adults don't. Rebecca recorded everything. He kept watching. Mr. Thompson opened a laptop. The camera image did not clearly show the screen, but Rebecca saw the reflection in the children's faces, something that made them uncomfortable. Emily turned her face away. One of the girls began to cry softly. Don't cry, sweetheart, Mr. Thompson said. This is education. This is knowledge. You need to learn these things. Rebecca felt bile rise in her throat. He recorded everything. 5 minutes later, the image was confused. Probably Emily took the backpack. The recording stopped. Rebecca had what she needed. He had proof. He picked up his cell phone with trembling hands and called the police. If this story is already changing the way you see maternal protection, like subscribe and activate the bell in this video so that this message reaches other mothers. The 911 attendant answered. What is the emergency? Rebecca took a deep breath. My name is Rebecca Mitchell. I need to report an ongoing child abuse case at the Lakeside Towers building, Lincoln Park, Chicago. The attendant asked questions. Rebecca answered everything. He explained about Wednesdays, about the secrets, about the locked room, about the recording he had just made. The attendant said she would send officers immediately, but that it could take 20 to 30 minutes. Rebecca didn't have 20 minutes. Emily was still underground. He decided to act. He ran down the stairs. He reached the basement panting. He walked to the door of the engine room. He heard voices inside. He took a deep breath. He knocked on the door hard. The voices stopped. Rebecca hit again. "Open the door, Mr. Thompson. Now." Silence. So steps. The door opened. Mr. Thompson appeared smiling, but the smile did not reach his eyes. "Mrs. Mitchell again? We are busy here." "I know what you're doing," Rebecca said, voice trembling with anger. "I have proof of everything." Mr. Thompson's smile wavered. "What are you talking about?" "I have a recording of you showing inappropriate content for these children. I have a recording of you asking them to keep their parents a secret." "The police are on their way," Rebecca said, trying to appear more confident than she felt. Mr. Thompson turned pale. "You're crazy. I didn't do anything wrong, so why did you ask for secrecy? Why do you lock the door? Why do children leave here crying?" Rebecca screamed. The children inside the room listened. Emily appeared behind Mr. Thompson. "Mother!" "Emily, come here now," Rebecca ordered. Mr. Thompson blocked the passage. "She is in the middle of an activity, Mrs. Mitchell. Take my daughter's hand," Rebecca screamed, pushing Mr. Thompson and entering the room. The other children were scared, huddled in a corner. The laptop was open on the table. Rebecca looked at the screen and felt her stomach turn. They were completely inappropriate images for children. "OMG!" Rebecca screamed, pulling Emily close to her. "You children, come here now!" The children ran close to Rebecca. Mr. Thompson tried to close the laptop, but Rebecca was faster. He took out his cell phone and filmed the screen. He filmed everything. "You're making a mistake, Mrs. Mitchell," Mr. Thompson said, cold voice now. "I am respected in this building. No one will believe you." "They will believe the evidence," Rebecca replied, still filming. Mr. Thompson took a step toward her. Rebecca stepped back, placing herself in front of the children. "Don't go near them." At that moment, they heard quick footsteps in the hallway. 2 police officers appeared at the door. "Hands on guns. Chicago police." No one moves. Rebecca almost collapsed with relief. He was showing inappropriate content for these children. "I have everything recorded. The laptop is there." One of the officers approached the laptop, looked at the screen, and her face hardened. "Mr. Thompson, you will have to come with us. This is a misunderstanding," Mr. Thompson tried to argue, but the officer was already taking off the handcuffs. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Rebecca hugged Emily and the other children. "It's over. You are safe now." Emily cried on her mother's shoulder. "Sorry, Mom. Sorry I didn't tell you before. It wasn't your fault, dear." "It wasn't her fault," Rebecca repeated, holding her daughter tightly. Other officers arrived. They seized the laptop. They asked questions. Rebecca showed the recordings. The children were taken to give testimony with social workers present. Rebecca called the parents of the other children. Everyone arrived in shock, desperate. There was crying, hugs, despair. "How this happened under our noses," a mother asked through tears. "No one imagines that someone so trustworthy could be dangerous," Rebecca replied, holding the woman's hand. Mr. Thompson was taken away in handcuffs. As he was placed in the car, he tried to speak. "You are making a mistake. I was just educating these children." But no one listened. Nothing in this story happened by chance. What you are discovering here may be the missing piece to understand everything. Stay until the end, as the most surprising moment is yet to come. In the following days, the investigation deepened. Detectives discovered that Mr. Thompson was not who he claimed to be. His real name was Richard Thompson Miller. He had a criminal record in another state, Ohio, from 15 years ago. Similar accusations involving children. He had changed his name legally, hidden the past, and got the job at Lakeside Towers because at the time the background checks were not so strict. The laptop revealed hundreds of inappropriate files. The investigation found that Mr. Thompson had been doing those weekly sessions with children in the building for at least 2 years. Emily and the other 4 children were the current victims, but there were others before them. Rebecca helped police locate a family that had moved out of the building a year earlier. The family had a daughter who was now 10 years old. When detectives talked to her, with social workers present, the girl confirmed. Mr. Thompson had done the same thing to her. But she had never told her parents because she was ashamed, because she was afraid, because Mr. Thompson said no one would believe her. 3 other victims from previous years appeared after the case was reported, all with similar stories. Weekly sessions in the engine room, special secrets, requests not to tell parents, inappropriate content disguised as politeness. Mr. Thompson has been formally charged with multiple crimes involving minors. Bail was denied. He remained in prison awaiting trial. The board of the Lakeside Towers building was in shock. How do we let this happen? How can we not understand? Rebecca was called to a meeting with all the residents. He explained everything. He showed the signs he had noticed. She spoke about the importance of trusting in the maternal instinct. The building implemented new policies immediately. Any activity involving children needed to have full transparency with parents, rigorous background checks for all employees, security cameras in all common areas, including basement, open door policy, no room could be locked with children inside. Rebecca took Emily to special therapy for the first few months. Emily had nightmares almost every night. He woke up crying, shaking, calling for his mother. Rebecca slept next to her, held her hand, whispered words of comfort until Emily went back to sleep. The therapist, Dr. Sarah Chen, a specialist in childhood trauma, explained that it would take time. Children need to reprocess what they have experienced. They need to understand that it was not their fault, that they are safe now. The other 4 families also took their children to therapy. Rebecca met them at the group sessions Dr. Chen organized for parents. There was Mrs. Anderson, whose daughter Sophie was 8 years old, Mr. and Mrs. Ramirez, whose son Daniel was 9, Mrs. Kim, a single mother like Rebecca with a 10-year-old daughter named Grace, and Mr. Thompson did not, another Thompson, no relation to the criminal, father of a 9-year-old boy named Lucas. Everyone felt guilty. How can we not understand? How do we let this happen under our noses? Rebecca tried to comfort. Predators are masters of manipulation. They choose trusted professions, build impeccable reputations, gain access to children little by little. It wasn't your fault. But still, the guilt weighed heavily. Rebecca felt it too. I should have acted earlier. She should have trusted instinct from the first day Emily was late. It could have saved her daughter weeks of suffering. Dr. Chen told her to stop it. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. He noticed the signs, investigated, acted. He saved his daughter and other children. You're a hero, Rebecca, not a negligent. But Rebecca didn't feel like a hero. She felt exhausted, scared, broken. She saw her daughter suffering and felt a physical pain in her chest. He wanted to go back in time, to protect Emily from all that, but he couldn't. He could only move on, one day at a time. Rebecca needed to better understand who Mr. Thompson was, or rather, Richard Thompson Miller. He needed to know if there was anything else he could have done, any sign he missed. Then, one Saturday afternoon, while Emily was at her grandmother's house, Rebecca decided to talk to Mrs. Garcia, the caretaker of the building, who had worked there for 20 years. He found Mrs. Garcia in the basement laundry, folding towels. The 60-something woman, gray hair tied in a bun, tired but gentle eyes, raised her head as Rebecca entered. "Mrs. Garcia, can I talk to you a minute?" Rebecca asked. "Of course, Mrs. Mitchell." "Sit down," the janitor said, pointing to a plastic chair. Rebecca sat down, took a deep breath. "I wanted to know about Mr. Thompson. You've been working here for a long time. He has always been." "Like this?" Mrs. Garcia sighed, putting down a folded towel. "Look, Mrs. Mitchell, I always thought he was a good manager. Punctual, organized, polite to everyone. I never had a problem with him. But, Rebecca insisted, feeling that there was something unsaid. Mrs. Garcia hesitated, looked to the sides as if to check if anyone was listening. But there was something strange a few years ago, about 3 years ago, more or less. Rebecca's heart raced. What happened? I had a family that lived on the 5th floor. The Davis, a young couple. They had a daughter, I think about 8 years old. Cute little girl, always smiling. One day, out of nowhere, they moved in. Very fast. You know, from 1 week to the next. They put the apartment up for rent and left. Rebecca felt a chill run down her spine. And what does this have to do with Mr. Thompson? Mrs. Garcia lowered her voice. That's that. I was cleaning the 5th floor hallway on the day they were making the move. I heard the mother, Mrs. Davis, arguing on the telephone with someone. She was very nervous, almost screaming. He said something about his daughter being scared, about something inappropriate that had happened. I didn't understand everything, but I heard her mention Mr. Thompson's name. My God, Rebecca whispered. Did you tell anyone that? Mrs. Garcia shook her head, looking embarrassed. I didn't tell you. I wasn't sure what I had heard. And Mr. Thompson was my boss, you know. Besides, I thought that if it was something serious, the family would have denounced it. Since they just moved and didn't say anything publicly, I thought maybe I had gotten it wrong. Rebecca closed her eyes, trying to control the anger she felt. It was not anger at Mrs. Garcia, it was anger at the situation. More victims, more families destroyed, and no one had said anything because they were afraid, ashamed, or simply did not know how to proceed. Do you have the Davis contact? Rebecca asked. I don't know, but maybe the substitute manager does. They still own the apartment, they only rent, Mrs. Garcia replied. Rebecca thanked her and left. I needed to find this family. I needed to know if their daughter had been a victim too. If he had, he could testify, strengthen the case against Mr. Thompson. He went up to the administrative office of the building, now occupied by a temporary manager while they looked for a permanent replacement. He explained the situation. The temporary manager, a middle-aged man named Mr. Peterson, checked the records and found a phone number. Rebecca called immediately. A woman answered. Hello? Mrs. Davis. My name is Rebecca Mitchell. I live in Lakeside Towers. I need to talk to you about something very important related to Mr. Thompson, Rebecca said, trying to keep her voice steady. There was silence on the other side. Then the woman sighed. I knew that day would come. So is it true? His daughter. He did something to his daughter, Rebecca asked softly. It did, Mrs. Davis confirmed, voice breaking. My daughter Jessica was 8 years old when she started. He said he was teaching her about building maintenance, which was special. I took her to that room in the basement. It took me months to realize that something was wrong. When I finally found out and confronted him, Mr. Thompson denied everything. He said I was crazy, that it was just an educational project. I went to the police, but I had no concrete evidence. Jessica was too traumatized to speak clearly. The lawyer said that it would be difficult to prove something, that it would turn her word against his. We decided to move, to start again somewhere else. Far from that building, away from it, Rebecca felt tears run down her face. I'm sorry you went through this alone. But now he has been arrested. We have concrete evidence. He is being formally charged, and your daughter can testify if she's ready. It would help the case a lot. Mrs. Davis took a deep breath. I'm going to talk to Jessica. She's 11 years old now. He is still in therapy, but he is better. Maybe she's ready to talk. Maybe it will help her heal too, knowing that he won't do that to anyone else. Rebecca passed on the contact of the detectives who were investigating the case. He thanked Mrs. Davis deeply. He hung up the phone and cried. She cried for little Jessica. He cried for Emily. She wept for all the children who had suffered at the hands of that man. But she also felt determination grow within her. I wasn't going to let that happen again. Not in her building, not anywhere. If it could be avoided, Rebecca knew she needed access to the engine room again. The detectives had seized the laptop and several pieces of evidence, but she wanted to see the space again, to understand how Mr. Thompson had managed to keep it hidden for so long. I wanted to see if there was anything else, any clues that might have been left behind. The problem was that only Mr. Thompson and the night janitor had keys to that room, and obviously Mr. Thompson was in prison. So Rebecca decided to approach the night janitor, a man of about 50 years named Carlos. He waited until 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night. Carlos arrived for his shift as always. Rebecca was in the lobby, pretending to check her mailbox. "Carlos, can I talk to you for a minute?" Rebecca asked. Moving closer, Carlos seemed surprised. "Of course, Mrs. Mitchell. What do you need?" "I need to get into the engine room." "Just for a few minutes," Rebecca said directly. Carlos frowned. "The engine room? Why? Is there a problem in your apartment?" "That's not it. It's just that I need to see the place where that happened to my daughter. I need to understand. I need to sue." Rebecca explained, which was partially true. Carlos looked uncomfortable. "Look, Mrs. Mitchell, I understand that you are going through a difficult time, but the engine room is a restricted area. Just me and... well, only I have a key now, and the police ask not to touch anything until the investigation is over. Please, Carlos, only 5 minutes. You can be with me all the time." "I won't touch anything," Rebecca begged. Carlos shook his head. "I'm sorry, but I can't. If something happens, if you get hurt or move something, I can lose my job. I must speak to Mr. Peterson first, to the temporary manager." Rebecca felt frustration grow. "I'll pay you $100 for 5 minutes. Carlos took a step back, offended. "It's not a question of money, Mrs. Mitchell. It is a matter of rules and respect for the police investigation. Sorry, but I can't help." Rebecca knew she had gone too far. "Sorry, Carlos. You're right. I shouldn't have asked for that. I'm alone. I'm desperate to understand how I let this happen." Carlos softened his expression. "You didn't let anything happen. You saved your daughter and other children. Focus on that, Mrs. Mitchell." Rebecca thanked her and went upstairs to the apartment, feeling defeated. He entered the house and went straight to Emily's room. The girl slept peacefully, hugging her favorite teddy bear. Rebecca sat on the edge of the bed, ran her hand through her daughter's hair. Emily moved, opened her eyes. "Mother, are you okay?" "I am, dear. I just came to say good night," Rebecca whispered. Emily sat up, still sleepy. "Mom, you look sad. Is it because of that room?" Rebecca was surprised. "How do you know?" "I know you want to understand what happened. I want it too. But Dr. Chen said that sometimes we won't understand everything, and that's okay. The important thing is that it's over," Emily said with wisdom beyond her years. Rebecca hugged her daughter. "You're right, my love. You are absolutely right. Everything will be fine." But inside, Rebecca was panicking. "I felt that there was something more, something that I had not yet discovered, and he wouldn't be able to rest until he knew exactly what had happened." The next morning, Rebecca woke up with an idea. If he couldn't physically enter the engine room, maybe he could at least find out more about what was going on there. He called the detective in charge of the case, Detective Martinez. "Detective, do you have any news about the case?" Rebecca asked. "We have, Mrs. Mitchell. We reviewed the laptop thoroughly. There are hundreds of files that confirm prolonged criminal activity. We are tracing the origin of some files. It may lead to a larger network," Detective Martinez explained. "What about other victims?" "They found someone else?" Rebecca asked. "We are investigating. We have the information about the Davis family that you passed on. The girl has already given a statement with a social worker. It was very brave of her." "The testimony will greatly strengthen our case," the detective replied. "Someone else showed up," Rebecca insisted. Detective Martinez hesitated. "Yes." 3 more victims from previous years came forward after the news broke in the local media. All girls, between 7 and 10 years old at the time of the incidents. all with very similar stories. Weekly sessions in the engine room, secrets, psychological manipulation. Rebecca felt nauseous. 6 victims in total, 7 counting Emily. At least. There may be more who have not yet come forward, the detective said. It is common in cases like this. Many victims take years to speak, some never speak. Rebecca thanked her and hung up. He sat on the couch, head in his hands. 7 children. At least 7 children had suffered because of this man. And he had done all of this in hiding, using a locked room in a building full of families, under everyone's noses. How did he do it? How did no one notice for so long? Rebecca knew the answer. He had built up an impeccable reputation. He had become indispensable to the building. He had gained the full trust of the residents, and he had carefully chosen victims, children he was least likely to count, children from busy families, children he could handle with ease. It was all very calculated, very cold, very disturbing. Rebecca decided she needed to do something proactive. I couldn't just wait for justice to take its course. I needed to make sure that this would never happen again, not in that building, not anywhere. Then Rebecca had another idea. If he couldn't physically see the room, maybe he could install a security camera downstairs now to monitor the future. He talked to Mr. Peterson, the temporary manager, about implementing cameras in all the common areas of the building. Mr. Peterson immediately agreed. In fact, the building's board was already discussing it. We are going to make a complete reform of the security system. Cameras in all corridors, lobby, basement, outdoor areas, and we're going to make sure that every room has windows or doors with glass, so nothing can happen completely hidden. Rebecca felt a small victory, but I still felt that something was missing. She needed to know more about Mr. Thompson, about how he operated, about whether there were signs she might have seen before. The following Wednesday, exactly 1 week after Mr. Thompson's arrest, Rebecca decided to do something she had been avoiding. He decided to install a hidden camera underground just to see if there was any strange activity. Anything that might have been overlooked. He bought a tiny security camera, one of those that record on a memory card and can be hidden anywhere. He waited late into the night, when Carlos was making rounds on the upper floors. He went downstairs. The hallway was empty, silent, scary. Rebecca walked to the door of the engine room. It was sealed by the police with yellow tape. He looked around, found a corner near the door, behind a pipe, where he could hide the camera overlooking the door. He quickly installed the camera, activated the recording, and left. In the following days, he checked the recording remotely on his cell phone. There was nothing. Only Carlos passing by from time to time during the night rounds. The door to the room remained closed, sealed. Rebecca began to feel stupid. What were you expecting to find? Mr. Thompson was in prison. The children were safe. The investigation was continuing. Why was I so obsessed? She talked about it with the therapist she had started to see. You're trying to regain control, the therapist explained. She went through a trauma too. Not only her daughter. He discovered that someone he trusted was dangerous. You found out that your daughter was suffering without you knowing. This shakes the sense of security and control, so it's trying to control what it can now, investigating, monitoring, planning. It makes sense, Rebecca admitted, but I don't know how to stop. It doesn't have to stop completely. You just need to channel that energy into productive things, help other mothers recognize signs, join support groups, work to create systemic change. But stop looking for dangers that no longer exist, the therapist advised. Rebecca knew she was right, but it was difficult. Every Wednesday, even though she knew that Mr. Thompson was in prison, Rebecca felt anxious. I kept checking where Emily was, what she was doing, who she was with. Emily noticed and was annoyed. "Mom, I'm fine." "You don't have to call me every hour," Emily said on one of those Wednesdays. "I know, honey. I am sorry. I'm just worried," Rebecca replied. "I understand, but you need to trust me too. If something is wrong, I'll tell you. I promise. I learned my lesson, Emily said seriously. Rebecca hugged her daughter. I trust you, my love. I'm just trying to learn to relax again. It's going to take time, Mom, for both of us. But we'll make it, Emily said, hugging her mother back. Rebecca realized at that moment that Emily was being stronger than her. The girl was processing, healing, moving on, and Rebecca needed to do the same. On a Thursday, 2 weeks after her arrest, Rebecca received a call from Detective Martinez. Mrs. Mitchell, I have an important update on the case. Rebecca's heart raced. What happened? We did a thorough background check on Richard Thompson Miller. We found out that he is not who he said he was. His real name is Richard Allen Miller. He had a criminal record in Ohio from 15 years ago involving similar charges with minors. He served 5 years in prison, was released, and then legally changed his name to Richard Thompson Miller. He hid his criminal past and got a job at Lakeside Towers because at the time, background checks were not as rigorous as they are today. Rebecca felt anger boil inside her, so he had done it before. And no one checked? Unfortunately, 15 years ago, background checks for building managers were not mandatory as they are today in many places. He took advantage of a loophole in the system, the detective explained. What now? What will be the final charge? Rebecca asked. Multiple accusations of child abuse, production and possession of illegal material involving minors, manipulation of witnesses who would be children, and a few more related charges. We are working with the prosecutor to secure the maximum possible sentence. With the background and the multiple victims, we are talking about at least 20 to 25 years in prison, the detective said. He's not going to leave ever again, Rebecca asked, voice trembling. He'll come out eventually, but he'll be an old man, and he will be registered as a sex offender for the rest of his life. She will not be able to get close to children ever again, the detective guaranteed. Rebecca thanked her and hung up. 25 years. Mr. Thompson would be in his mid-70s when he left, if he left. Maybe he would die in prison. Rebecca felt no pity. He told Emily that night. The girl was drawing on the living room table. Emily, I have some news about Mr. Thompson. Emily stopped drawing, looked at her mother. What is it? He's going to be locked up for a long, long time, at least 25 years old. You'll be an adult when he leaves. And he will never be able to work around children again, Rebecca explained. Emily nodded slowly. Good. Other children will be safe then. Yes, my love. Other children will be safe, Rebecca confirmed. Mom, can I ask you something? Emily said, looking back at the drawing. Of course, dear. Anything. Do you think I should have told you sooner? Before you found out? Emily asked, small voice. Rebecca sat next to her daughter, held her hand. Emily, look at me. None of this was his fault. Nothing. He was an adult who manipulated you and other children. You were just a little girl of 9. There was no way of knowing what to do. And in the end, you didn't have to tell me because I realized. My job as a mom is to notice when something is wrong, even when you can't speak up. And I did my job. Maybe not as fast as I would have liked, but I did. Emily hugged her mother. Thank you for not giving up, Mom. Even when I didn't count, you didn't give up. I'll never give up on you, Rebecca whispered. Never. If you're here, it's because this story deserves to be heard. I believe that what comes next will surprise you even more. Don't leave this video before you find out how it all ended. A week later, Rebecca received an unexpected call. It was Mrs. Davis, the mother of the first victim who had moved out of the building 3 years before. Mrs. Mitchell, I wanted to thank you personally. Because of you, because of your courage, my daughter finally got justice. She testified yesterday to the prosecutor. It was hard, but she said she felt strong. She said she knew she was helping other girls, Mrs. Davis said, crying. Rebecca cried too. Your daughter is very brave, all these girls are. They are. And so are you. If you hadn't trusted your instinct, if you hadn't investigated, it would still be free, doing it with more children. You saved lives, Mrs. Mitchell, Mrs. Davis said. After that call, Rebecca felt something change inside her. He began to see the situation differently, not as a failure of hers for not having realized it before, but as a victory for having realized it in time, for saving Emily and other children from additional years of abuse. He decided to channel the experience into something positive. She talked to the other mothers in the building whose children had been victims. Together, they decided to create a support group, not only for them, but for other mothers in the community. The board of the Lakeside Towers building supported the initiative. They provided the event hall once a month for meetings. Rebecca and the other mothers created a presentation about warning signs, about how to recognize when a child is being abused or manipulated, about the importance of trusting the maternal instinct. The first meeting had 10 mothers. The second had 20. The third had more than 30. Mothers from all over the Lincoln Park neighborhood began to show up, wanting to learn, wanting to protect their daughters and sons. Rebecca became the group's natural spokesperson. He talked about his experience, about the signs he noticed, about how he investigated, about how he acted. Other mothers asked questions, shared their own concerns, learned from each other. At one of these meetings, a mother raised her hand. "Mrs. Mitchell, how did you know you weren't exaggerating? How did you know it wasn't just paranoia?" Rebecca thought carefully before answering. "I didn't know for sure, but I realized that the signs were consistent. They happened every Wednesday." Emily changed her behavior specifically that day, and when confronted, she couldn't explain it in a way that made sense. When you notice a pattern, when your gut screams that something is wrong, even if you don't have concrete evidence yet, you need to investigate. Better to investigate and find out that I was wrong than to ignore it and find out too late that I was right. The mothers waved, taking notes. Another mother asked, "But what if everyone thinks you're crazy?" The other villagers thought Mr. Thompson was wonderful. "Let them find it," Rebecca replied firmly. "I'd rather be called crazy and save my daughter than be called trustworthy and lose my daughter. The opinion of others is worth no more than your child's safety." The mothers applauded. The group grew. They began to be invited to speak in schools, in other condominiums, in churches. Rebecca and Emily's story spread throughout the Chicago community. Local newspapers made articles. A radio station invited Rebecca for an interview. Rebecca hesitated. "I didn't want to expose Emily too much." He talked to the girl. "What do you think, honey? They want me to talk on the radio about what happened, but I only do it if you're comfortable." Emily thought, "Will you say my name?" "I don't need to. I can only say that it was my daughter without giving details that identify you," Rebecca assured. "So that's okay." "If it helps other kids, that's fine," Emily said. Rebecca did the interview. She talked about warning signs, about the importance of open communication with children, about not being afraid to appear paranoid. The interview went viral. Rebecca began receiving messages from mothers across the country saying thank you, sharing their own stories, asking for advice. Meanwhile, the case against Richard Thompson Miller was moving forward. The trial was scheduled for 6 months after the arrest. All the victims would testify, including Emily, if the prosecutor decided it was necessary. Rebecca talked to Emily about the possibility of testifying. "You're not obligated, dear. The prosecutor said we have enough evidence without your testimony if you don't want to." "I do," Emily said, surprising her mother. "I want him to know that I'm not afraid of him anymore, and I want the judge to know what he did." "Are you sure?" "It's going to be hard," Rebecca warned. "I know. But Doctor Chen said it could be part of my healing. Confront him and tell the truth," Emily explained. Rebecca hugged her daughter, proud of her courage. But in the end, the testimony was not necessary. 2 weeks before the trial, Richard Thompson Miller's lawyers contacted the prosecutor proposing a settlement. Miller would plead guilty to all charges in exchange for a reduced sentence of 20 years instead of 25. The prosecutor consulted all the victims and their families. Most agreed. They did not want to go through the trauma of a public trial, of being questioned by defense lawyers, of reliving everything in detail in front of strangers. Rebecca consulted Emily. "What do you think? Do we accept the 20-year agreement, or do we go to trial to try to get 25? Emily thought. 20 years is still a long time. He'll be old when he leaves, and I don't have to face it anymore to feel strong. I already feel strong." "So we accepted the deal," Rebecca decided. Richard Thompson Miller was formally sentenced to 20 years in prison without the possibility of parole. He was also permanently registered as a high-risk sex offender. When he left, he would have to report his location to the authorities for the rest of his life. He could not live near schools or parks. He could not work anywhere that involved contact with minors. Rebecca was in the courtroom on the day of sentencing. Mr. Thompson, or Miller, as he was now officially called, was in orange prison uniform, handcuffed, head bowed. He didn't look at anyone. The judge read the sentence. For the crimes committed against multiple minors over several years, crimes of a heinous nature that exploited a position of trust and caused profound psychological damage to the victims, this court sentenced him to 20 years in prison without the possibility of parole. Miller did not react. He was taken back to prison without saying a word. Rebecca felt relief wash over her. It's over. It's really over. She left the courtroom and found the other mothers waiting in the hallway. They all hugged each other, cried, supported each other. "We did it," one of them said. "We protect our daughters." "And we will continue to protect," Rebecca added. "Not only our daughters, but all the children we can reach. This story is not for everyone. If you are here, it is because you want to know the truth behind the facts. Are you ready for the final reveal?" In the months following the sentencing, Rebecca and Emily's lives began to find a new normal. Emily was still in therapy, but the nightmares subsided. She returned to drawing with enthusiasm, even participating in an art exhibition at school. His drawings showed themes of overcoming, strength, hope. In one of them, Emily drew a small girl holding the hand of an adult woman. Above them, a starry sky with a phrase written in colored letters: "Mothers are warriors." When Rebecca saw the drawing, she cried. The Lakeside Towers Building Board has implemented all of the promised safety changes. Cameras in all hallways, lobby, basement, garage. All rooms now had windows or doors with glass. A strict policy was established. No activity involving children could take place without full transparency with parents and without the presence of at least 2 adults. The building hired a new manager, a woman in her 40s named Lisa Chen. She underwent rigorous background checks, references were checked carefully, and it was established that she would report monthly to the board on all activities in the building. Rebecca was invited to be part of the building's board. He accepted. "I wanted to make sure that the new policies were followed, that the safety of children was always a priority." At the first council meeting with Rebecca present, they voted to create a victim support fund, covering therapy costs for all affected children while they needed it. The building would also donate to child protection organizations. The other victims and their families were also recovering. Rebecca kept in touch with all of them. They created a WhatsApp group sharing small and large victories. "Today, Emily had a real laugh for the first time in months," a mother wrote. "My daughter slept through the night without nightmares," another shared. Mrs. Davis and her daughter Jessica visited Chicago 3 months after the sentencing. They wanted to see Rebecca and Emily in person. The 2 mother-daughter pairs met at a cafe near the Lincoln Park Zoo. Jessica, now 11, hugged Emily. "Thank you for being brave," said the older girl. "You were brave too," Emily replied. "We did it together." The two girls went to eat ice cream while Rebecca and Mrs. Davis talked. "How are you?" Mrs. Davis asked. "Better. One day at a time." "And you?" Rebecca replied. Also, "Jessica is much better. Knowing that he was arrested, that he can't do this to anyone else, helped a lot in her healing. She feels powerful now, in a way. As if she had defeated a monster," Mrs. Davis said. "They defeated. All of them," Rebecca agreed. "Because of you." "If you hadn't acted," Mrs. Davis began. Rebecca interrupted. "It wasn't just me. It was you too, for having the courage to talk about what happened years ago, even without having achieved justice at the time. It was the other mothers who supported it. It was the children who were brave enough to testify. It was a collective effort. Still, you were the first not to give up this time." "You were the one who broke the silence," Mrs. Davis insisted. Rebecca accepted the compliment with grace. "Thank you, but I promise I'll use it for good. I've already started." She told Mrs. Davis about the support group, about the lectures, about how the story had spread, and she was helping other mothers recognize signs. "That's incredible," Mrs. Davis said. "You've turned something horrible into something that will save other children. That's what we need to do, right? We can't change what happened, but we can change what happens next," Rebecca reflected. The support group that Rebecca and the other mothers had created became a non-profit called Vigilant Mothers. They created a website, educational materials, a hotline for mothers who needed guidance. Rebecca became a volunteer director, using her spare nursing hours for work. He gave lectures in schools, condominiums, churches, community centers, always with the same message: trust your instinct. Watch for the signs. Don't be afraid to appear paranoid. Protect your children above all else. In a particularly impactful talk at an elementary school in Chicago, Rebecca showed a list of warning signs: sudden change in behavior, especially on specific days or situations, red eyes with no plausible explanation, mentions of secrets that the child cannot tell, nervousness around a specific adult, reluctance to go to places I once liked, nightmares or heightened anxiety. The mothers in the audience took notes furiously. At the end, a mother raised her hand, crying, "I think my daughter is going through something like this. Her music teacher. She doesn't want to go to class anymore, but she doesn't tell me why." Rebecca spoke to her after the talk, privately. She gave guidance on how to approach her daughter, how to investigate discreetly, when to involve authorities. 2 weeks later, she received a message from that mother. "You were right. The teacher was making inappropriate comments to several students. I reported it to the school and the police. He was fired and is being investigated. Thank you for teaching me to trust my gut." Rebecca cried as she read the message. Another child saved, another exposed predator. The work was worth it. Emily also began to participate in the work of Vigilant Mothers in a way appropriate for her age. In a therapeutic group session for young survivors of abuse, Emily shared her story. She talked about how she was afraid to tell her mother, how Mr. Thompson had manipulated her, how she was finally freed. Other children listened, identified themselves, felt less alone. A 10-year-old girl who had been in a similar situation with a soccer coach hugged Emily afterward. "Thanks for sharing. Now I know I'm not alone." "We are never alone," Emily replied, wisdom far beyond her 9, almost 10 years. A year after Richard Thompson Miller's arrest, the Lakeside Towers building hosted an event in the hall. It wasn't to focus on the case, but to celebrate the new culture of safety and community they had built. There were families, children playing, food, music. Rebecca looked around and saw something beautiful. I saw parents talking to their children openly. I saw mothers paying attention to the small details. He saw a community that now understood the value of loving vigilance. Lisa Chen, the new manager, climbed onto a small makeshift stage. I wanted to thank everyone for making Lakeside Towers not only a safe place, but a model for how communities should protect their most vulnerable members. I especially want to thank Rebecca Mitchell for her courage, her leadership, and her dedication to making sure that what happened is never repeated. Everyone applauded. Rebecca felt Emily shake her hand. He looked at his daughter, saw pride in the girl's eyes. After the event, Rebecca and Emily returned to the apartment. They sat on the couch, exhausted but happy. "Mom, can I ask you something?" Emily said. "Always, dear." "Do you think we would have gotten over all of this if we didn't have each other?" Emily asked. Rebecca hugged her daughter. "I don't know if we would have, but I know that together we are unbeatable. You made me strong, and I hope I made you strong too." "Yes, you did, Mom. You showed me that it's always right to speak the truth, that good people will believe in you, and that mothers never give up," Emily said. Rebecca cried, but they were good tears of pride, of love, of hope. Before we continue, help bring real stories to those who really care. If you want to be part of this mission, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell. 18 months after the initial arrest, the work of the Vigilant Mothers had expanded beyond Chicago. Mothers from other states began to create local chapters of the organization. Rebecca traveled to Boston, to Atlanta, to Los Angeles, giving lectures, training local leaders, sharing resources. In each city, the story was the same. Mothers desperate to protect their children, but not knowing how. Communities that wanted to do better but didn't have the tools. Rebecca and her team provided these tools. They created a background check checklist that schools and organizations could use. They created a guide for difficult parent-child conversations about body safety and boundaries. They created training for educators on how to recognize signs of abuse. The impact was measurable. In Chicago, reports of child abuse increased, which paradoxically was positive. It meant that more cases were being identified and reported rather than hidden. And more importantly, there were reports of prevented cases. Teachers who have been questioned before doing something inappropriate. Coaches who were investigated before getting victims. Rebecca received an award from the city of Chicago for community service. At the ceremony, the mayor said, "Rebecca Mitchell is an example of what a determined person can do." She turned a personal tragedy into a movement that is protecting children not only in Chicago but across the country. Rebecca accepted the award humbly. "I dedicate this to all the mothers who trust their instincts, to all the children who find the courage to speak up, and especially to my daughter Emily, who taught me the true meaning of strength." Emily was in the audience, smiling. Now 10 years old, he was thriving. His grades at school were excellent. I had friends, participated in activities, was happy most of the time. There were still difficult moments, of course. He was still in therapy, but he was living, not just surviving. In a therapy session, Dr. Chen asked Emily how she felt now, a year and a half after everything. The girl thought for a moment, drawing lines on the paper in front of her. "I feel strong, Dr. Chen. I still have bad days when I remember the dark room and his voice saying it was a secret. But now I know that bad secrets don't stay forever. My mother taught me that." Rebecca, sitting next to her, felt her chest tighten with mixed pride and sadness. In the first few months after Mr. Thompson's arrest, the nights were a torment for Emily. Nightmares came almost every night. The girl woke up screaming, sweating, grabbing the sheets as if trying to run away from something invisible. Rebecca ran to the bedroom, turned on the soft light, hugged her daughter until the tremors passed. "Shh, my love. It's over. He can't touch you anymore. You're safe here with me," he whispered, cradling Emily like she was a baby. Specialized therapy for childhood trauma was weekly, sometimes twice a week. Dr. Chen used drawings, games, dolls to help Emily express what words couldn't. Gradually the nightmares subsided, from 5 a week to 2, then 1, then only occasionally. Emily began to sleep alone again. Though she still asked to leave the bedroom door ajar, the other 4 families of the children involved have come together in an informal support group. They met every Thursday night in the hall of the building after the children had gone to sleep. Rebecca, Mrs. Anderson with Sophie, the Ramirez with Daniel, Mrs. Kim with Grace, and the Thompsons with Lucas. They shared stories, cried together, laughed at small victories. Today, Sophie drew a huge sun. Without dark shadows for the first time, Mrs. Anderson said, eyes shining. Daniel finally played on the playground without looking back the whole time. The Ramirez celebrated. Rebecca became the group's natural spokesperson. He began by giving lectures in other Chicago buildings about warning signs. He spoke to mothers gathered in community rooms, with coffee and cookies on the table, red eyes with no clear cause, mood swings on specific days, mentions of secrets that the child keeps with tension, nervousness around a confident adult. "Do not ignore this," he said. "Her maternal instinct is a compass. He doesn't lie." Emily, after 6 months of intense therapy, began to return to the cheerful girl she had before. She laughed out loud with her friends at school, drew castles and warrior princesses, participated in children's plays. There were still difficult moments, such as rainy Wednesdays when the sky darkened early, reminiscent of the underground, but she talked about it now without fear. "Mom, today I thought about the living room, but I drew a hero who breaks down locked doors. Look, he showed the paper with pride. Rebecca learned that protecting was not being paranoid, but being attentive with love." The mother-daughter relationship grew stronger, like steel forged in fire. They talked about everything without filters. Emily confided small fears, like a difficult test, and big ones, like bad dreams. Rebecca listened, validated, hugged. "You are my partner in this life," he said. "Together, we face anything." Exactly 1 year after the incident, Rebecca and the other mothers in the group made their initiative official as an NGO called Vigilant Mothers. They started small, with free workshops in the Lakeside Towers ballroom. Mothers from neighboring neighborhoods crowded the space, taking notes furiously. Recognized signs of danger, isolation from the child, promises of secrecy, touches that last too long. Importance of trusting maternal instinct. If your chest tightens, investigate without guilt. Emily, now 10, was part of a therapeutic group for children, helping other girls and boys talk about trauma. She sat in a circle with dolls and crayons, sharing, "I had a bad secret with a man everyone liked. My mother realized even without me speaking. You can also tell someone you trust." The children listened, eyes wide, feeling less alone. The Lakeside Towers building has become a benchmark for child safety in Chicago. Local newspapers highlighted the new policies: cameras on every corner, annual background checks for any adults involved with children, transparent doors in common rooms. Other communities copied the model from Milwaukee to Indianapolis. Mr. Thompson's case gained national coverage on CNN, alerting thousands of families. Predator in Chicago, building arrested after mother tries to catch abuse. Headlines screamed. Rebecca turned pain into purpose. She traveled to lectures, trained volunteers, saw her NGO grow to 10 chapters in 1 year. Emily accompanied her at times, drawing while her mother spoke. The legacy was real. Children saved, mothers empowered, communities safer. Don't go out. Take the next step in this journey by watching the next video on our channel, which will appear here on the screen. In it, we will continue to discover stories that touch the heart. Rebecca saved Emily and 4 other children by relying on maternal instinct that screamed danger, even without concrete evidence at first. Everyone in the building saw Mr. Thompson as a respected, helpful man, but Rebecca noticed the lateness on Wednesdays. The red eyes, the nervousness of her daughter. Ignoring these signs could have cost years of additional trauma. Her courage to investigate alone, install hidden cameras, confront the suspect, called the police in time, preventing further damage. Emily recovered with therapy, went back to laughing, drawing, dreaming. The positive transformations came strong. Support group brought families together. NGO Vigilant Mothers saved dozens of other children in Chicago and beyond. From pain was born hope, and proof that traumas can become collective strength. It is possible to recover, to create something good out of darkness when love and action go together. Trust your maternal instinct. It exists for a reason. No matter someone's impeccable reputation, if something seems wrong, investigate without fear of judgment. Your children need to know that they can tell you anything. Without fear of scolding or disbelief. It's never paranoia to protect the one you love tooth and nail. An attentive mother is worth 1,000 impeccable references. Predators hide behind trusted masks, friendly smiles, constant favors. 1 minute of courage can save a lifetime. Always believe your daughter when she says something bothers you. Talk to her about good secrets, such as a birthday surprise, and bad secrets, which should be told immediately to mom or dad. Rebecca's story inspires mothers across the country to be more attentive, eyes open to strange patterns. Communities must unite to protect children. Background checks on every adult near them. Enforce transparency in condominiums, schools, clubs. Educate about warning signs from an early age. Create support groups for victims and families, transforming pain into a network of strength. Rebecca hugs Emily every night, grateful that she trusted her instinct. Mothers are not born to be naive, they are born to be warriors. Protecting is not exaggeration, it is love in action. And when a mother decides to fight, nothing can stop her. If you like this story, surely the next video that is appearing on your screen will thrill you too. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave your like and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. A big kiss, and see you in the next heartwarming story.